Hi everyone, it's Angela Fair. We're going to start painting right away. I don't want you to have to wait. And I'm going to start painting a landscape painting without using my paintbrush. This is just my way, spraying my paper with water, of being more creative and exploring all the wonderful, unexpected things that watercolor can do. So we're going to do a winter landscape because it's actually snowing outside where I am. And we're going to use some of the colors in my palette. I'm just cleaning up this little pond of palette dirt with a sea sponge because I want to have a nice soft background to start my painting with. And the sea sponge will fill the paper quite quickly. It's got a little bit of the violet that was in my palette here and a little bit of goethite, which is kind of this brownish color. So we're going to use those to create my landscape. We're going to go right up, make a sky here, one of those gray winter skies when the sky is overcast and the land is frosty. Leave this area a little bit open down below. And that's quite subtle of color so that we have lots of places to build up color later. Now, one thing I like to use in watercolor is a palette knife, and that seems a little unexpected for watercolor. But when you use a palette knife, you can create some very interesting marks using just this damp pigment that I have on the side of my board here. I'm just pulling down a tree trunk. And it's a combination of soft marks where things are flowing into the background, and then those very strong marks of pigment as well. And you can squeeze a little bit of that raw umber from the tube and smear it right on your palette knife. And then we'll lay down, a few other strong marks, strong darks. Then you can also use the palette knife to scrape out some lines. So you get a lot of versatility once you get used to using it. And you just don't want to press too hard because that will leave scratches in your paper. And you want to be using really good artist quality, 100% cotton paper with this. Okay, used up all my raw umber again. I'm not going to worry about it or add more. I'm going to let the painting kind of tell me what it wants. So we'll see where we go from this. Let's see here. Now, for some reason, oh, there it is. Just hoping that I can also see if you're watching live and you have some questions, I want to be able to see those. Hi, Vicki. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so we just paused for a second. We have this very soft, subdued background. Soft and subdued is not my way, so we're going to jazz that up a little bit in just a second. Moving on to another of my non-brush tools, painting this watercolor painting without the brush. So I just picked up some of this goethite with my feather here. And I'm sorry, I don't know what kind of bird this feather came from. Where I place the goethite on the wet paper, it's going to be soft and diffused. And down below, it's going to be quite crisp and strong and powerful. So I get this beautiful interplay between hard and soft. If I dampen my feather as well, I can create some softer marks down below with my brush, with my feather, and also soften some of those marks. So now I have a painting that's got a lot of brown in it. We want to change that up a bit. So we're going to go to this chunk of cling wrap, moisten that as well. And it's got a little bit of Daniel Smith wisteria in it. So we're going to use some of that and see what our cling wrap will do. And of course, the effects we create on wet paper are different than on the dry. And I also think I want to create some soft clouds. So we're going to do that with a piece of tissue. And I'm not sure if I dampen my tissue, it's going to just dissolve. So I'm going to try to dampen my paper. You have to kind of be a little bit innovative when you're working with non-traditional tools. So the tissue is lifting paint more than placing it down. So we need to place paint before we can lift it. So let's do that with our sponge again, I think. And see where we get. I want to create some clouds, so I need some softness. And I think I need more blue in my clouds because my sponge has a lot of that brown in it, so it might be time to clean it. I don't want to waste my paint, so I don't clean my brush or my sponge until I'm sure I'm done with the color that's on it. I'm going to dab a little bit more of that lavender on. See if we can't create a little bit more cool shadowed clouds up here. And with a sponge, it often is squeezing out liquid onto your paper. So you're going to create potential watermarks as well as that new and fresh liquid pushes into the older liquid on your paper. A little more. And in between the trees, we want to make sure our cloud shape goes right across the painting. That would be a mistake, wouldn't it? And maybe a little more blue up here to balance it out. So now we have some clouds. I like actually the shapes in here a little more than in here. We might have to camouflage it with some surprise little twigs or something as we paint our trees. It's so much fun to let go of this idea of what watercolor should be and just start to be playful with your paint. Pull out a twig. We all have twigs, right? Step out into the yard, find a tree. You'll get a different reaction, I think, from this one is really not wanting to cooperate with me. Keep trying. Give it a minute. Now it's got a broken piece. I even tried painting with these little alder twigs or pine cones, and they will make marks as well. So there is really no limit to what you can do. They make little tiny kind of marks, and they are not cooperating for me right now. So you can trust me on that. So we've used the cling wrap. We've used tissue. I have more tissue. This is like crepe paper. And again, pressing that into damp pigment gives me crumpled marks of strong darks. Rhyming. And so I have this combination of softness, and I have some very crisp and strong, bold marks. And between the two of those elements is where the dynamic of my painting comes in. I can place more darks with my palette knife. I have this little plastic spoon here, which will do similar effects to the palette knife. So if you don't have a palette knife, you can, I've had students using plastic knives, cheese spreaders, all kinds of different tools to create marks on their paper. Remember that if you can make marks on paper with paint, you are a painter. So take that as your free reign to do what you please. A little later today, I'll be posting on my YouTube page here a video on how to stamp with leaves. So I'm not going to use leaves in this painting, but keep an eye open for that. It'll be coming up on YouTube here in a couple of hours. So I'm just full of painting energy today. I really like that when I use my palette knife on damp paper like this, I get these gorgeous marks of strong pigment with little bits of softness. It's not just this strong, rigid line. And I think that softness is really beautiful. I can go back to my feather again if I want to paint a few more really soft twigs. And I've been using a really fine brush with a really long, I'll show you. So I've got this brush here with this really long point, but I can do similar things with my feather. It might not be quite as durable as that long pointed brush, but it's gonna make similar marks with that similar lack of control and freedom. And it's the freedom that is so addictive in this style of painting. Now, one thing I did in my previous painting that I really loved was I went into my Verditer blue and I used this bright blue to add some cool shadows and a little bit of kind of complementary color, because we've got warmth with our browns. So the blue can help bring in some of that coolness. Let's add some more water and really let things flow. Don't be afraid of a big stroke. Strokes of genius are not small strokes. That's what I have to say about that. Oh, and you know what? The school bus just went past, so I have to stop and feed my children. And so we're going to wrap this up. I'm feeling really good about this painting right now. And I think that if I went and did more to it, I'd probably end up overworking it and doing something I would regret. So shorter spurts of painting time usually reap better benefits for me than longer ones. I like the effortless feeling of this. I like the colors in the sky and the shapes of my marks that were created by everything but a paintbrush. So hopefully that was fun for you. Give it a try yourself. I'd love to see what you're creating. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear what else you'd like to see here on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. I post a Friday night painting club video almost every week. My goal is every week, but I can't really promise that. So I say almost every week. And I am passionate about arming watercolor painters with technical skills so that you can learn to paint and become your own favorite artist. So if that sounds good to you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you'd like to see in a future lesson. Thanks for watching. I'm Angela Fair. Have a great weekend and make some color happen on your paper.